everyone, welcome on Rebollion station. As you can see, not only the environment has changed, but I also came out from behind the scenes, so I can present whatever content I got for you a bit more interactively. The station is still under construction, of course, and I'm aiming to create something unique and special here. Currently there is only one person who's running around on the station, and that would be, well, myself. Let's not waste any more time on status reports, but rather jump into the next review, as I'm eager to present Spellforce 3. Here I'm in the base game, of course, that has been released in 2017, developed by Grimlore Games and published by THQ Nordic, my big favorite. It is a strategic RPG mixture where we got a chance to control and develop not only a handful of heroes, but also our own armies of loyal soldiers. So let's begin to check out what do we know about this game and its predecessors. Let's go to the historical and research track now. Now, as for the previous titles, the first Spellforce game, Order of Dawn, got released in 2003 and brought a completely new direction, merging strategy and RPG into the same package that got a divided response, as people either really loved the concept or was completely turned off by it. This, of course, has not prevented the release of two further DLC in the following year, The Breath of Winter and The Shadow of the Phoenix. Following these in 2006, Spellforce 2 Shadow Wars came out and was received a lot more favorably by critics, as it managed to improve almost every aspect of the original game. Despite the success, only one official DLC was released in 2007, Dragonstorm, and there was another standalone game, Fate in Destiny, later in 2012, but considering it has built upon a 6-year-old base, it did not receive too much media attention. However, with this last title, Nordic Games consolidated their plan for a brand new Spellforce game that finally got rolled out in 2017. Well, thank you for the exciting history lesson. Let us jump right over to the engine room to see the settings options the game has to offer to us. So, here we are in the engine room, where myself, the station head engineer, would like to take a look on the settings of Spellforce 3. The game does not require separate accounts or third-party site registrations like Epic or Ubisoft games. On the General tab, we can choose, for example, the preferred language for both text and audio, or the difficulty level. The user interface menu, we can rescale the UI elements and their fonts, or modify the highlights effect of hidden units. The sound tab allows us to get some generic things like the sound level of background music or dialogues. We can spend a little bit more time on a displayed item in case we do not have a strong gamer PC, but still want to enjoy a smooth gameplay, so might want to set back some of the graphical settings. Here we can mess around with a lot of things such as rain or grass effects, or the shadow and environment texture. Finally, the controls with the camera handling and the keyboard buttons. Considering that I played a lot with previous Spellforce titles, to me the traditional scheme meant easier control over the map, but of course it is up to the player to decide. Back to the bridge. Right, with all this out of the way, time to jump into the best part, the gameplay, and in order to make it easier to look through, I divided it into separate topics. The character creation is rather simple, as we can only choose from a few predefined sets, but in fairness there is not much point spending too much time here, considering that our heroes will either wear helmet or be just way too far to us to see. Other than that, we can spend some attribute points and choose 3 talent trees that we can develop with our progression. Useful talents for a warrior, for example, are brutality or discipline, and for mages something like elementalism. With these limited options, I made the best attempt to create the character that resembles me the most.
Considering that the game was released 3 years ago, I think it still stands its ground pretty well. The cool design of the different locations, the tiny details such as paintings on the wall or handcrafted stone and marble columns helps us to become a lot more immersed into this magical world. Even the cities are great, as they truly mirroring your typical lively medieval fantasy metropolises that you would want to roam around within. All these are truly wonderful to experience for a top-to-down game. Controlling the camera is not too complicated, and in big open spaces it's really easy to jump from one side of the map into another. Rotation and zooming are also available and will prove especially useful in smaller closed places such as prisons or caves, as without rotating the screen we could easily miss important items or lurking enemies. When a fight breaks out, our heroes or controlled army will jump into action automatically by attacking the closest units. Of course, we can be more tactical if we wish, to focusing on stronger or ranged units first, but if we're confident enough in our superior strength and numbers, we can just lay back and observe the massacre. Other than the opposing armies and the usual mobs, on most maps we can also find optional monsters such as the aggressive Trant, the tough Tribe-Eater, huge spider, even huger dragon, killer abomination, or even tentacle monster. The real bloodshed, however, happens while leading our forces into another army, laying waste on any opposition. I really enjoyed such moments when managed to circle the enemy's camp around and attacked it from both sides at once, or while setting up a serious defense line and smirking as the endless hordes of enemy soldiers got crushed over and over again. Our bags are practically bottomless, so we can squeeze as much items in there as we want without worrying of weight or space. The weapons and armors are color coded, that goes from the generic white to the rare purple or epic orange. Background stories and tales we can learn from books or scrolls we manage to find during our adventures. One of the most enjoyable parts of Spellforce is the large amount of equipment we can gather in the world that with time can grow as large to supply a smaller legion. Each hero under our control can have 3 talent trees. After each new level they can use it to learn a new ability or strengthen the existing ones. As I mentioned before, the most useful ones for warriors are the brutality, discipline and leadership, while talents such as elementalism, white or black arts will suit best those who prefer magic over weapons. At a certain point in the story we will get the chance to further specialize our main character, and we can use it to further develop one of our existing talent tree. We can assign 3 active abilities for each hero that we can access from their quick slots. We will get the chance to try out some base building right away on the first mission. We do not have direct control over our peasants, rather we can assign them to buildings to harvest material or support troop recruitment. It's a bit like settlers, but it's a lot easier to getting into. Certain buildings can only be placed next to their corresponding source material such as wood, meat, stone or iron. To reach resources that are located further from our base, we need to expand our borders. That can be done by conquering small outposts in sort of Warhammer style. Defense towers used to support our guards in protecting our workers and buildings. Initially these are wooden build, but later on we can start using stone towers as well. A strong defensive line can long hold out any unwanted guests.
This thing can pick up anything. Here's a little demonstration. I'll pour some wine, rub in some feces, and to top it off, some mustard mixed with feces. Tough stain, right? Oh crap, I forgot the vacuum.
We can obtain main and side quests after some conversation with certain NPCs and companions, and can track them from the right side panel. After a successful completion of such quest, we can use the claim button from the very same panel to collect our reward. Merchants are easy to recognize by those coins above their heads. With their help, we can sell all of our unwanted items or buy stronger weapons and more durable armors. Certain traders will offer us so-called blueprints that we can use to develop further our units and buildings. Iria the Elf, with whom I tried to build a closer, more emotional connection from the very beginning. As you know, who wouldn't like elf girls? Then we had Undergast, our mage who managed to learn and use both black and white magic at once, and also Gore, the orc shaman who kept throwing huge fireballs into our unfortunate enemies' faces. The typical dwarf character of our team was the strong badass tank called Isgrim. And in his pocket there was some unexpected surprise.
I now pronounce you husband and husband. You may kiss the husband.
That's how we roll in our house, baby.
Before the final score, let's take a look on some of the good and not so good parts. I would definitely highlight the sound for both the music and character dialogues.
The general was wrong, for heck's sake. The blood burn is not contagious. What should we have done? Slaughter an entire village?
Blazes, are you that ignorant or just plain stupid, Carpo?
The playtime is massive. I completed the story in 65 hours, but even so I left out certain side missions and only was focusing on the human army. The story is engaging and interesting enough that kept me going till the very end. During these 65 hours I barely ran into technical problems or bugs, and the entire playthrough was really enjoyable from beginning to the very end. A few words about the less pleasant parts. Camera handling can be awkward and annoying here and there when, for example, a dropped item somehow ended up behind a static object and so became inaccessible. I had to move to a different angle to this stone structure and zoom in to be able to finally pick it up. I learned to keep an eye on 57% during the loading screen, as it was the point where progress tended to slow down and once or twice getting stuck entirely, forcing me to restart the game. The AI is not the most sophisticated. Here, once it took over the control of my armies, it was supposed to defend the middle section of the map. But instead of doing so, it simply took all of my units to the right bottom corner and made them running around like headless chicken. The world map is huge, and when I seen it, I thought I would be able to discover the furthest sections of it, and I loved the idea. Unfortunately, only a handful of locations are reachable, and those get recycled a few times when being sent back there for a new mission. Considering everything, I would give Spellforce 3 an 8 out of 10 and would easily recommend it to anyone who is interested in this type of gameplay, and to be honest, I can't wait to review the DLC. Thank you again for your attention, and I hope you will join me in my next review, and if you feel like supporting my attempt to build up this station into something truly amazing, then please subscribe and be part of the Rebollion. Until then, peace be with you.